Wow, thank you, Provost McFadden. That was very flattering. I've been here a long time. The list grows when you're here for a long time. I'm here on behalf of the faculty to welcome the class of 2026. We are so excited you're here. We heard the excitement down in the lower right over there earlier, and hopefully we'll hear more of that, and you'll maintain that enthusiasm throughout the year and your 4 years here. I like your shoes. You guys all have nice, cute shoes on, and you're dressed great. Wear those shoes now. Wear them to class. We want to see them for the next couple of weeks before winter hits here, and they're going to be tossed under your bed, and we won't see them again until May, and you'll bring out your clumpy boots. So please wear them. Delight us with them. But most importantly, welcome to Maine. I'm a native Mainer. I'm one of a small handful of faculty here who are native to Maine, so I take that very, very personally, and it's a strong priority of mine that you like Maine. I hope you like it. I know that some of you are from Maine. So I'm an Ellsworth Eagle. Over the past couple of years, this convocation has been an opportunity to share with students some of the powerful and much-needed messages of finding balance in your lives, being lifelong learners, finding connections with other people, the powers of realistic thinking, the stories we tell ourselves, and in an epic welcome from Provost McFadden herself, zombies. But it wasn't just about zombies. Her welcoming was about the discussion of racial tension and the cultural underpinnings of the zombie narrative. It was the artful weaving of a story by a brilliant American studies professor, and I may have more to say about zombies later. So here you sit at your first days at a liberal arts college. I recall being scared shitless when I was in your position 40 years ago. Different college, same setting. And here are the faculty in our regalia here. So these outfits that we're wearing, they're not terribly cute. But I should explain a little bit what these regalia represent. They signify that we've each undergone highly specialized training in a particular discipline, and that within that discipline we've created new original work, a novel, an organic chemical compound, an economic analysis, a series of paintings, and this is called scholarship. And that scholarship is an ongoing component of faculty careers. And it's a substantial part of what we do when we're not with you in the classroom. We're each experts in our fields, and as such, you are going to discover that we have extraordinarily high expectations of you. From the faculty perspective, this is what it means for us and for you to be part of this learning community, that our intellectual engagement standards are very high. You'll choose a major at some point. Some of you have already decided what you're going to do, some of you haven't, but we hope you'll keep an open mind. It'll be an area where you'll immerse yourself and develop some level of expertise, and we require that of you. But this is a liberal arts college, and so you'll also have the opportunity and even the requirement to explore more broadly. Those of us who've chosen this career at Colby believe so strongly in the mission of a liberal arts education. And one reason is that we know all of the world's most pressing problems, climate change, racial tensions, poverty, and disease, all of these problems are best studied and best solved using interdisciplinary approaches. And so we expect a high level of broad intellectual investment from you. I'd like to emphasize here that we know you're up to the task. Admissions does a fantastic, phenomenal job of bringing us bright, engaged, smart students, interested, qualified. You are all qualified to be here, even though you may not feel that way in the earliest days of being here. You're going to have academic experiences that push you beyond what you may think at the time you're capable of. You'll learn things that make you uncomfortable or concepts that you struggle mightily to understand. You're sometimes going to think that your work, because you did it exactly the way your professor outlined it in the syllabus, is going to be fantastic, only to discover that adequate and exceptional are vastly different in college. Professor Blevins in the English department is going to hand back a paper you cranked out one Sunday afternoon that you thought was brilliant, and you're going to discover it needs extensive revision, rethinking, reworking. But you see, Professor Blevins is a distinguished poet, and even she often revises a poem dozens of times before it even ever appears in print. And her poetry is amazing. I never read much poetry until Professor Blevins arrived at Colby, and I just sort of casually picked up some of her work and started reading it. And I got it. Like, by reading her poetry, I suddenly got what poetry is all about after having ignored it all my life. I have one of these brilliant, amazing mothers who's 86 and is a walking Rolodex of poetry and can bring out the perfect verse for any occasion. So I've now fallen in love with poetry and with Professor Blevins' poetry specifically. And you know what? I've known her for going on, 20 years. And it still blows my mind that I can wander over to her office and grab her and go over to the coffee house with her. I'm totally fangirling over Professor Blevins. I have no shame, but she's a rock star. But you know what? There are, as was mentioned earlier, over 200 faculty, and they're just like her. They're also rock stars in their own disciplines, in their own areas, and you're going to meet them and get to know them and work with them, and you can take them to the coffee house yourselves. And you get a free drink. The two of you get free drinks. I think that's still a thing. So back to poetry. Earlier I said interdisciplinary approaches and ways of thinking would be what it takes to solve complex problems. In my own field of neuroscience, we're only in the early stages of understanding how the brain works. With its billions of cells and trillions of interconnections and wirings between the cells, it's by far the most complex entity that we know of. And we still struggle to understand devastating brain diseases like Alzheimer's that destroy the brain. Well, it turns out that many Alzheimer's patients who are in the process of losing brain function in ways that rob them of their very humanity, are still able to respond to and even recite poetry. In fact, this is a type of therapy for Alzheimer's. And what this shows us is that there is something about poetry that is so deeply embedded in the brain, hardwired into the brain, broadly, specifically, that it is unassailable even by a devastating neurological disease that destroys the rest of the brain. The implications of this are astounding. These interdisciplinary approaches and thinking are critical in the world. Here's another example drawn from my own area of biomedical science. My students and I, as President Green mentioned, and as Provost McFadden mentioned, spend summers at the Mount Desert Island Biological Lab where the scientists study regeneration there. And it turns out that humans are just not very good at regeneration. Like, our skin can regenerate a bit, our digestive systems, there are some places that do, but some of our most important vital organs don't. So, for example, kidneys and the heart and the brain are not particularly capable of regeneration. And so we're on this exploration to see if we can unlock the secrets of regeneration. And what we do is we look at animals that are similar to us that do have the ability to regenerate. And because we have these regions that do not regenerate particularly well, these are regions that are highly prone to various diseases. So as you can imagine, there's lots of biomedical research going on in this area of regeneration. And at this lab, they are pioneering a technology called organoid technology. Maybe some of you have heard of it, especially if you have an interest in biomedical science. Organoid technology means we can take stem cells and we can grow miniature, fully functioning little organs, miniature hearts, kidneys, brains that function just like the larger organ, and we have them there in a dish to study how they work, to study disease processes, and to study treatments for those diseases, right, in a non-invasive way. And it's taken us about 20 years to get where we are with organoid technology. And it's not just biologists, but biologists and others who are also sculptors, architects, engineers, and origamists. And there have been lots and lots of failures mixed in with that, more failures than successes in getting us to where we are with this really cool organoid technology. So currently we use it to study diseases and treatments, and eventually we'll be able to scale this up so that we can use the organoids themselves to implant and treat degenerating organs that can't regenerate. Maybe even have a way to repair organs in the event of a zombie apocalypse. And I want to toss out just one more example of the way that art intersects with biomedicine. So I'm just going to read the title of this paper. Don't think about it too much, but just, take it in. So a title of a recent paper, An Effective Multi-Stage Liposomal DNA Origami Nanosystem for In Vivo Cancer Therapy. In fact, a whole book could be written about simply the ways that origami is now used in biomedicine, not to mention other areas of science. So back to you. How are you going to do this? How are you going to take a path to develop a mind that is truly artful, intellectual, nimble, able to take risks, and, importantly, tolerant of failure? A mind that's trained in both a specialized knowledge base and in broad thinking ways. You've just graduated from high school. You've earned your rightful place in the class of 2026 at Colby. And while high school prepared you well to get into Colby, it doesn't necessarily prepare you well to be a college student. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. It's okay that you're starting from scratch and are maybe squirming a bit, wondering what you've gotten yourselves into. I've been there. I was a first-generation college student, completely over my head when I started college. I did not have it together in my first 2 or 3 semesters. I would gladly show anybody my transcript who doesn't believe me. I keep it in my desk for such occasions. And the way I overcame my challenge to be an engaged student is that I had to learn to manage time and I had to learn to tap into resources. So I'm going to talk a little bit about time and resources. First, I'll talk about time, which happens to be my specialty within neuroscience, is the study of how the brain uses time. So you may be thinking about your courses and the fact that you're only taking 4 courses, and maybe you even tried to convince your advisor that you should be taking 5 because you can handle it, because you're used to 7 or more. And you may be wondering, if you're only taking 4 courses, what in the world are you going to do with all of your time? Moreover, maybe you've already logged on to Moodle, found a syllabus for one of your courses, and discovered your first paper is not even due for another month, right? And you're resourceful. I know that students in this era are very resourceful, and you've already put together a calendar for yourself, and you're mapping it all out, and you're starting to fill that calendar up with all kinds of stuff. Rugby, a job at the art museum, CCAC, playing cello in the orchestra, more and more and more, all sorts of things, a cappella. Because that's how you spent your high school time as well, right? You're very active in high school. I know, I've read a lot of college applications. I see those long lists of activities. But be forewarned, the reason we pace you in this way in your courses is that your brain needs time. In order to take in the artful, intellectual, engaged approach that we expect of you, you have to invest time. And it's not what you might think. Spending 10 straight hours on Sunday in the library to write a paper that's due tomorrow, or studying for an exam tomorrow. It's a lot of time, that 10 hours, but it's not the right kind of time. You see, you have to, way in advance of the due date, start your assignment and get your brain tuned into the project for a while. And then counterintuitively, you actually have to put it on the back burner. You have to have time to put it on the back burner and go and do other things, or go and do nothing, sleep, go to the fitness center, binge on House of the Dragon, I don't know, whatever. And then at regular intervals, you have to come back to the paper, the studying, etc. Because the magical thing is that your brain is still working on all of this, even when you're not consciously aware of it, and even if you're sleeping. Your brain is actually rewiring itself to know and understand things in a new way. And it needs this rewiring in order to create and in order to learn, to make those interdisciplinary connections. So backburnering is not procrastination. In fact, it's the opposite, because in order to backburner, it requires an initial investment to put the work on the front burner, and frequent returns of your work to the front burner, which includes things like your engagement in the classroom, time spent in the library, meeting your professor, and the active struggle and frustration it takes to produce truly good work. So go ahead and do all of the cool things that Colby has to offer outside of the classroom. Just don't overschedule yourselves. I've seen it. I've seen the drama of trying to catch a meeting with me, and I look at your schedules and there's a little blank at 9:30 p.m. on a Thursday evening. So you're not in high school. You already got into college, and you no longer need to pile up that long, impressive list of extracurriculars and responsibilities that got you to today. In fact, you'll likely never need to apply to college again, yay. And you'll likely never have to apply for anything that requires a long list of extracurricular activities. So give yourselves a break and give yourselves the time for intellectual work and struggle. I said that time was important and resources were important. And you've heard a lot over your orientation about all the different resources, so I'm not going to talk about those much here. But one of the most important resources, speaking on behalf of the faculty, is Professor Blevins, who will read and critique that 15th draft of a poem that you're writing and struggling with. And then there's also the 200 or so other faculty who will work with you. Professor Jeff Katz in chemistry, he'll read your poem too, trust me. He won't necessarily critique it, but I guarantee you he is interested in you and what you're doing and will read it. So learn early to be intentional about your use of time and your use of resources. Time is strange in college, and you've heard this from others besides me. You'll have some days that seem long and aimless, and you don't even know what to do. But then, seemingly, all of a sudden, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now, you'll have a paper due and 2 exams all in the same week. Your prior wise management of your time will gird you against the otherwise stressful occasion that you're going to encounter. Time in Maine is also quirky. It's summer, it's green, it's kind of balmy, very humid. My hair's got about another 10 minutes before it poofs. But in a couple of weeks, you'll be standing at the top of the steps at Miller, and you're going to see the most spectacular, glorious colors that Maine has to offer you when the trees turn. It's amazing. You'll take lots of pictures and such. It'll blow your mind. And then winter is its own form of spectacular beauty. But you have to catch it early in the day because by this time of day, it's long been dark. Right? It's definitely my favorite season, winter, to be honest. Professor Blevins likes winter too. I'm going to read to you a poem of Professor Blevins from her book, Appalachians Run Amok. So this is one of the things we faculty do, is we publish books. And it's about winter in Maine. Winter's no drag in Maine to me, more like the big fancy sister of the present tense, as in an all up-to-date, forward-looking, and even vaguely avant-garde and insubordinate. Like the sky itself can't say what's going to happen next. Whereas back in Virginia, the Jeffersonian troposphere was always rusty and nostalgic like the wagon wheels, and people in boots smashed at the hoedown, despotic mothers making toy rabbits with kids who won't leave the country store but must lean against the sides of things forever. Winters back home, I mean the weight and the sad and missing vapor mist weight of people everlastingly, almost somehow passé. Whereas in Maine, for me, it's not because I'm not at all from here, as in, I'm not all that much nowadays from anywhere. Since by coming here, somehow I left my little atoms and proteins and other cells and whatever waters and somehow completely behind, like a specter might leave an old watch on her deathbed and never know thereafter what the foghorn means, wailing all soppin' and crestfallen like infants like that. See what I mean? Your time at Colby, as others have said, will go more quickly than you can possibly imagine right now. And the next time we gather here like this, as President Green talked about, 4 years from now, it will likely be the second time you see us in our regalia. We don't wear these to class. They do in some parts of Europe, actually, but we don't. You'll have your cute shoes on because it'll be May. You'll bring them back out again, and you'll be in your regalia, signifying similarly that you've accomplished something substantial in your 4 years here. At the end of the baccalaureate ceremony that President Green talked about, we're going to line the sides of this sidewalk, we faculty. And you'll be in your regalia, and you'll walk through that gauntlet of faculty. And it's, for the faculty, it's very often one of our favorite parts of the baccalaureate, watching you walk through that line. And we're going to reach out and maybe shake your hand. We'll shout at you, yay, clap, maybe hug. You know, in some cultures, you should Google graduation cultures. It's different in different schools. We have our own customs around that at Colby. In some places, they throw garbage at you when you walk through that gauntlet. We don't necessarily do that. But it's a beautiful tradition that, again, as President Green mentioned, it shows the love that we have of you and your accomplishments and what you've done. In the meantime, we're looking forward to working with you, coaxing you into and then helping you through your intellectual struggles, and witnessing those moments with you when you achieve extraordinary things that you can't even begin to imagine now. And it all starts tomorrow. So, thank you.